In some ways, this is more of like role-play fantasy
Yeah.
for me because I've never done interviewer things before.
You've got to play your character is the podcast interviewer.
Okay.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome to Nightcap. This is the show. I'm sitting here with Brynley Stent. She's a comedian,
Yeah.
and she's an actor, and she's in Fury of the Small. She plays Sly the Goblin
Yes.
and Rhapsody White, the dwarf. I prepared some quickfire things for the beginning.
Okay, perfect.
Shall we do quickfire things?
100%.
Okay. What's your favorite Dungeons and Dragons dice size?
Oh, D20.
D20.
The classic.
Solid. Do you have a favorite Dungeons and Dragons monster?
Dragons.
Dragons? Straight up.
The bad ones, obviously. Some are good.
If you could only have one game snack at all your tables, what would your game snack be?
Incredible. Probably block of Whittaker's Hazella chocolate. Shout out.
Okay, whoa, nice. If we can't say that, we'll block out the Whittaker's
chocolate.
What D&D class have you played the most? Is the one you played more than any others?
Yes, weirdly, I started my first ever character that I properly played was an artificer alchemist, which is arguably one of the hardest ones to learn straight away. But
Absolutely.
now I am never-endingly drawn to it because it just it appeals to me because
There's
it's
a
in my
fun
core.
new artificer, which is a reanimator artificer, which basically like you sew together a little like animal companion made of other animal companions. And I thought of you when I saw it.
Like a zombie animal.
Yeah, you can choose
Wow,
basically. The aesthetic is
incredible.
up to you.
Like a mad scientist kind of.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Favorite Dungeons and Dragons spell?
I actually like fairy fire.
Fairy Fire is
Yeah,
great. What a great answer. What do you like about
yeah.
Fairy Fire?
I mean, it's a solid, and it always seems to help, and also you can flavor it in lots of different ways. I think.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, and it's what? It's a cantrip? Is it a cantrip? No.
No, it's a first
It's
level
a
spell.
First level, so you get it pretty early. But it's always helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I also love it's not a spell, but my favorite of feature is the grovel, cower, and beg.
Oh yeah, which is
of
the old kobold
kobolds.
feature.
yeah.
It's a great kobold
I've definitely
feature.
used that one lots for my mini campaigns.
Yeah, nice.
Playing small creatures.
Do you have a favorite board game? Like a board game that is not like a tabletop, like a D&D tabletop?
I mean, the classic is in my heart. It's Settlers of Catan, but I have moved on from that, and now I am more of like a Ticket to Ride kind of wingspan, more of a gentle
games
gamer.
time.
Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah.
And of all of us on this show, we've all played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, but you, more than any of us, played the most D&D, like actual play and live play by like a country mile. You were in Waterdeep Mountain High.
Yes.
You've done a bunch of stuff
yes.
like you've done like some charity online, like
I
actual
have.
play and live play games.
Yes.
And can we talk about the other one that you're doing or not yet?
I think we could talk about it. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's been announced.
Okay,
so
great.
yes, they work with Viva La Dirt League on
Yeah,
their upcoming campaign, which is called Into the Darklands. Yes.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, true. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
I guess that was my into Dungeons and Dragons as well. The very first campaign I played was a one-off like comedy live show. And,
Who was your character for Waterdeep Mountain High?
I was a goblin.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I was a goblin called Ping, and he was a rogue and just chaotic evil,
Whoa.
causing some chaos.
What
Yeah.
was your first experience of tabletop role playing like?
It was really fun, actually. I mean, it's quite different if you're in as through having an audience in front of you.
Was that live?
It was live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was at the Basement Theatre, so there was about 80 people in the room watching us. And it was very intimidating because obviously it draws a lot of people who are fans of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So I think learning how to play the game in front of all those people was terrifying.
Had you done like warm-up games prior to playing in front of audience?
I'd played Pathfinder with my ex.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, shout out
I've never played
Adam Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Adam Brown, who taught me things through osmosis about Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. We had that classic thing where he played Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder through like our whole relationship, and the whole time he was like, "You should play, you should play, you should play." I was like, "Nah, it's not for me." And then we broke up, and I immediately started to play. Sorry, Adam,
No, it's okay.
but I love it now. Yeah.
Amazing. But like before that point, before playing tabletop,
Yeah.
has fantasy always been like a big thing in life of Brynley Stent?
Yes, definitely.
Amazing.
I can't claim to be like a huge. I'm not like a connoisseur of it, definitely. Like, I'm not the type of person who's going to dive into the lore of, like, certain things. But I think it's always appealed to me, and it's always some of my favorite things, like, is fantasy adjacent. Yeah.
But if you had like one work of fantasy, if you could pick one work of fantasy that is like the work of fantasy for Brynley, what is that work of fantasy for you?
I think it's got to be, honestly, any work by Jim Henson.
Oh, yeah,
It's pretty broad, but I'll just say Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
Yeah,
Those two are pretty influential to me. Especially, I mean, I went to drama school with you, actually, Paddy, and I think a lot of the stuff that I've made through both in my hobby life and in my professional life has kind of been inspired by that kind of Jim Henson-esque forest creature, swamp-like world. Yeah.
What else like defines that, like that aesthetic and that genre of like?
It's quite dark, but it's not laid on dark. I think it's the fact that it's real. Like Jim Henson's stuff is sets, it's puppets, it's tangible.
Yeah.
Like you can actually see the visceral kind of cobwebs rather than it being drawn or
CGified.
CGified, yeah. And it is often very dark. Like the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth are scary.
And you said, wasn't it like you couldn't watch the Dark Crystal when you were a kid? Like it scared you so much?
Yeah. And actually, weirdly, the heroes scared me more than the villains.
Gelflings,
The
that's
Gelflings
right.
they're uncanny valley. Like you watch them and they're like, something's not up. Something's not right here. That looks like a human, but not a human.
Yeah. And it does feel like dangerous.
Undertone.
I remember like going like something like terrible things could happen to these characters.
Yes.
And you're right, it is physical. Like, you could sink into the bog. Like, you could drown in there.
Yeah.
I always think the Princess Bride is in that zone as well. But
Definitely.
Is it?
I think so, and I think the Never-Ending Story is also in that genre as
Never
well.
Ending Story I could not finish when I was a child because of the nothing.
Yeah.
There's a shot of it in like one of those incredible sets and it's like zooming into a little dark hollow. And maybe there are a glint of eyes or maybe there's nothing at all, but I could not.
Yeah, it's scary.
I couldn't go there.
And the horse getting trapped in the whatever the eternal thing is scary. Atreyu.
It wasn't purposeful. Like when we asked you to be on the show, we've been ready for a long time. Me, Tom, everyone in the company really knows each other really well. But for me, Fury of the Small had such a huge Jim Henson aesthetic and vibe. Like I was going like, I would love to be able to see these goblins as puppets in our mind's eye. And I think I name drop him explicitly somewhere in Ep 1. Do you think we do? Do you think we do that vibe? I'm trying to think back on it.
I think we do. Yeah. I mean, I was listening to episode 1, and we talk about the forest itself, and we describe the forest a lot. And I think that immediately reads Jim Henson-esque.
We're very early in our process for Fury of the Small in terms of putting it together. But you've heard our first episode. Our little premiere piece. What do you think of our first episode? What was your response to it?
I love it. I mean, I'm biased.
Yeah, we all are. But, it's hard to. We haven't got other ears on it yet.
Yeah. What is so amazing is obviously, we are doing something that is beautiful and oral versus I think there's a temptation if there's an audience in front of you or if you're doing a thing to just make it quite gimmicky, make it comedy skewed. Whereas we didn't get together and say this is a comedy podcast in any means. And if it happens, it happens. But I think all of us were more in the kind of, what do you call, what's this
like
called?
the ASMR?
ASMR. Yeah. I kind of felt like we were playing in that vibe.
I like your impression of ASMR.
Hello. I'm just about to open. It kind of felt more like we were playing in that realm, which is it's still for people.
Yeah.
But it's like we're not going like a bum bum bum.
I do remember the first time we all put the headphones on and it was like we can whisper to each other and we can play right down in this space here. But then people were still like rocking back in their chairs and like laughing. And at a certain point, like it was never like something that we were hiding either.
No. It almost makes it more funny as well in some way because you're doing this like beautiful kind of, we're really in the story, it's drama, like we're crying and then it's like someone will say something and then you're all kind of going,
And there's big drama coming up for Sly in like the story. And I do remember a couple of moments, especially toward the end of the season. There's one that's like very sweet and very sad and very like Disney inflected, like very like childhood film inflected. That I remember afterwards, all of us like rocking back and like laughing and going, "That was so tender."
Yeah.
And so amazing. Yeah, you're. I love all those vibes, and I do think I always find as GM, it's like I often find I worry because what I'm laying down on the page is often like so serious, and I sort of have to hold this serious thing, and it's like, will there be any light in there at all? And especially in like. I love that the first episode starts with the all being just total dickbags as the heroes, and it's so funny, and then it becomes the goblins, and then around episode 2, like that fun begins to come out as the goblins, and the tone of the comedy is so different.
I also think it's nice that it's our first time as a group doing it because we haven't had the lens of any people hearing it yet, which is nice because it does mean it's the very first time. Like, it kind of reminds me weirdly of the first time that we did Taskmaster New Zealand because it was the first. It was the first time that we did it. So I was in the first cast and we did this. It was like we were a tester thing, and it kind of was nice because you aren't thinking about the audience and their response every day, because you're just like, well, this is new. And I think this unique kind of group with this kind of first time doing it before you like launch it out into the world, we got to do it without the filter of all the idea that people will be watching it or listening to it. Whereas like afterwards, it won't be the same because if you do another series or if we work together again and we put something else out again, you'll always be like, oh, I remember reading the comments about that, or I remember the feedback from that, or whatever, and maybe that will colour the way that you play. Yeah. Whereas this was like, I don't think I really ever thought about the people listening to it. I just had fun and told a story with my friends. Yeah. Is
there any other shared DNA between tabletop and like panel show? Because I suppose that's another world you're familiar with that I've always been like curious about, and this is very panel-y right now.
I think there is, and I think that there is, and I don't know actually how to make the connection between these, but I think weirdly it attracts the same performers. Like you do see a lot of like, I think of Dropout TV, and you see like some of those players are also. Do you know what is the other third part of this this thing is improv.
Oh yeah,
improvisers. Often will be like the people I notice in like popular kind of Dungeons and Dragons stuff is like it's often made up of improvisers and voice actors, right?
Yeah.
And those people also then appear on the panel shows and I actually think improv is a huge part of what makes up the cast of a lot of popular D&D stuff is people who have come through theatre, sports and improv.
To the weirdest, longest formest form of improv with all these other handles, and also our love of board games and a big stack of books next to us as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely. And nerds, panel shows like Taskmaster, there's a lot of nerdy kind of people who love that show. And I say that with love in my heart as well myself. Yeah.
Sly starts out quite separate from all the other characters, but I think that what you guys build with the chemistry of the heroes, like I see so clearly like your connections to all those other players and all those other characters. Like Rhapsody and Carla Rose, you and Ella come in with this like crazy, like unanticipated. I remember going like, wow, this is like 110%.
Yes.
What's it like playing with Ella as a D&D player?
It's amazing. I love playing with Ella. I think Ella and I, we're obviously really good friends who've made lots of theatre together, Ella and I, and we're always kind of drawn to each other relationship wise. Our characters always seem to, we're never strangers in D&D. We always have some sort of history.
Absolutely.
We played recently a beautiful one-shot campaign, which was
that was the one that Arlo ran and I played it?
Yeah. And me and Ella played a husband and wife duo, and originally we were like, they hate each other, they're like on the rocks and stuff, but then it ended up just from the moment that we started that they were just deeply in love, so we just played a couple that was deeply in love for a whole campaign, a whole one-shot. So I adore playing with her. I adore, as you say, her trying to be cheeky. I think maybe my just side of again, my eldest daughter is like, you can't do that. Like that isn't the rules. But I appreciate, love about Ella is that she'll always try and push the button and be like, can I do this? And you're like, no, you can't do that. Can I have an extra turn? No, you can't.
That's so funny.
Which I really, really enjoy about Ella. And I love Rhapsody and Carla. They've definitely got a sexual history happening. And
it's referenced multiple times. I think.
Yeah,
it is still referenced in that tiny little bit of that first encounter that we have.
It's hot.
And you get more of it later on, I do believe.
Yeah.
Arlo.
I don't think anyone at the table can make me laugh as much as Arlo does, I think.
True.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
But the way that I came across Arlo in the Dungeons and Dragons world, not this world, is that in classic Dungeons and Dragons fashion, we had this long campaign that was started during the lockdown, and we were playing it, and we had this set group of people. You were also in it as well. Tiahi was also in it.
Yeah.
And we had this group of players who were in this world, the Curse of Strahd, so very dark, vampires, death and torture and dungeons. And then one day, our DM, Tom, very smartly, we were at his house and his flatmate was Arlo. And I remember we were playing this game. Arlo wasn't in the campaign, but we were playing this game. And then all of a sudden, Tom just goes, and you hear a laugh. And then Arlo entered the campaign as this amazing druid who was just full of light and happiness and didn't have a gnarly backstory.
Yes.
And he just joined us as a player in that campaign. And it was so needed because we were all so dark and depressed. And then he just came in as a ray of light.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Arlo is that he's so cheeky and so he's such a positive player. Like,
Absolutely.
everything he does. And I love Scritches.
Yeah.
He loves human things. It's just it's a building from a place of positivity you need.
Absolutely. And I think your instinct is right. Like, he really knows what a story needs in any particular moment. In some ways, I think Scritches is like the straightest he's ever played a character, but it's still incredibly funny.
So funny how much he loves human stuff.
Absolutely. And how much he loves, like, he sort of becomes this de facto father figure to the other boys. And then...
And he's got that history with Scree and...
with their parents, with Sylvie.
Mum.
Anyway,
Yeah.
not sure if that's spoilers, but there's backstory. That no, it's not. It's already floating.
Yeah.
There's no one at the table that you've had a longer relationship with than Tom. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah. I've known Tom since I was about 15 years old in Christchurch. He's married to a dear friend of mine that I've known them for ages. We also lived together through drama school.
That's right, I remember that flat.
We lived in a house called Rice Bowl Clubhouse. And we all, we weren't into Dungeons and Dragons or anything at that point, I don't think. Or at least not to my knowledge. I don't remember Tom playing or anything.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Tom was like a big board game, Magic the Gathering fan.
Yes.
Yeah, but we all sort of fell into D&D around the same time.
But the cool thing about Tom and I's relationship through D&D is that obviously we've played Dungeons and Comedians together in Christchurch and things like that, but we haven't been in the same city and able to play like a big campaign ever together. However, when I'm at whenever I'm in Christchurch, I go and stay at Holly and Tom's house, and their kids, Louis and Billy, are some of my favorite kids in the whole world. But Louis especially is like at the age now where they can play child level Dungeons and Dragons. And so it's cool to like turn up at my friend's house who has like this, loves Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of stuff. And then suddenly it's sort of influenced in this youth and this child and this next generation as well. Yeah. And being able to talk to a kid like in front of you about their parents' passion, right? Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful thing about Tom and the family as well is that it's moved on to the next gen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he kind of brought our whole operation together as well.
Yeah.
Like, it was him really took the courage and the stance to go like, hey, I think we should really try making something using Dungeons and Dragons because we're all in this world and we all have so much skill here now.
Yeah.
We should really get down to it and give it a go and be courageous, which is what we did.
Yeah. And I think, my favorite thing about Tom is he's an amazing storyteller. Yeah. And I think he's very considered. And I think, we started and it was all of us going, da, 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 and then Tom was very quiet. And then all of a sudden he just comes out with like the most amazing lines of dialogue and the most concentrated descriptions of things that we were just silent and kind of staring at him.
Yeah.
And he's great in that way that he can play both sides of the coin of entertainment and also just beautiful detail.
Channeling the story. Love you, Tom.
Love you, Tom. Shout out. We miss you. Rest in peace. I mean, he's not dead.
He's just in a different city.
He's in a different city. Dead to me.
What are you excited for? So you've heard a little bit of the series. When you forecast ahead and you remember the 2 days that we spent in this room, without being too spoilerific, what are you excited for audience members to get to or to listen to or beats for them to experience in the show?
Yeah. I'm excited for them to feel the different worlds because we moved very fast. And I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I think...
No, at this point when we're thinking that audiences will listen to this, they've experienced our first idea that time passes and the geography changes.
Yeah.
Like at this point in our story, the goblins have got to the nearly fallen tree. They've had that pass of the season, and then they've gone actually we can't survive just as a four. We have to move on. We have to go to the goblin markets.
Yeah.
And we've taken that first big geographical and temporal leap.
Totally.
And there are more of those coming up.
Way more. And I think they happen faster as well. Like, obviously, there's some setup at the very top of we want to spend time with the goblins in that zone and feel where they come from. But it is very Last of Us style. The Last of Us kind of now we're in this episode, and it's got a whole different feel and a whole bunch of different characters that we meet, and then we close that chapter chapter, and then we
Yeah,
go
and
to
we
the
go
next
somewhere
episode.
else.
Yeah,
That is because the last they encounter the new city, they find the problem there.
Yes.
They have like the climax in that spot, and then they find the new location.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm
So I'm
so
excited
excited.
for that. And I'm excited for the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm not gonna say anything about it,
Yeah.
but I just think that the way that we closed it was not at all what I expected. That's all I'll say.
I could never have anticipated the arc for Sly in particular.
Yeah.
Who starts out like Gollum so much in the inspo, those Henson characters so much in the inspo, but I think the final places that you take Sly in the story. Yeah, I'm so excited to hear what they sound like and what the feeling is like
Yeah.
hearing those.
It felt unexpected to me as well, because I think, we sat down, you and I sat down and like helped create Sly together, because we were like, we were conscious of, we need a character that can move and change over multiple years, because obviously it's not like we don't have the luxury of being like, let's feel this out over 200 episodes, but we never really said this is where Sly has to end up.
No.
Ever. And so it was kind of fun in that moment to feel and go, oh God, am I resisting this as a player, or am I like want to lead into this as a player, or
Absolutely.
whatever, or so I mean that's a garbled way of saying that I didn't expect that Sly would end up where they ended up. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Nor with any of the characters really.